co-writer and director of this groundbreaking documentary about the future of the advertising industry and reveals a surprising story about the industry's ability to create breakthrough brands by empowering consumers. Jeff is widely regarded as one of the leading innovators in the field of digital marketing and has worked on teams that have helped revolutionize market research, publishing, sports broadcasting, and interactive advertising. He's a founding partner of Questus, a New York-based digital marketing agency that has worked with some of the world's most influential brands, including American Express, Bloomberg, Discovery Channel, Disney, ESPN, Suzuki Motorcycles, the NFL, Verizon, and more, which is an extensive list. Jeff brings his incredibly refreshing, innovative, and immediately applicable approach to the ECCO Think Tank today. And we'll share on how each sector can make a more effective approach to advertising and marketing during and beyond COVID-19. So all the way from New York, welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Glenn, how are you? Thanks for having me on today.
No worries, thank you. And thanks so much for being a part of the ECCO Think Tank. I'm really excited to hear about your insights, especially into how organizations can approach marketing and advertising past this crisis. So let's get stuck straight in. I guess what's your, with the current issues and challenges facing organizations, what are the current issues that you see in terms of advertising and marketing activities?
Well, I think the biggest challenge facing our industry and facing any industry is quite simply the unknown, right? Everybody's facing the same challenges of the known, which is the economy is down and travel is down and consumers are home. That's all really quite obvious. But I think the hardest part is just the unknown. I think if we knew that this thing was going to end in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever it is, that's really easy to build a plan around. You can always plan around whatever an end game is. When you know where the end zone is, when you know what a touchdown looks like, you can plan around it. But right now, people don't know, do I spend aggressively because the world is going to open up and my customers are ready, or do I just cut back completely and just try to weather this storm? And, you know, the interesting thing is everyone feels like the sky is falling a little bit right now. And you start hearing like, this is the worst recession ever. This is the worst global economy ever. This is the worst domestic economy ever. But, you know, I've been doing this for a while. And I remember in 2008 when the global recession hit and the housing crisis that started it, and everyone thought that was going to be the worst recession since the Great Depression. And, you know, now they're saying this is even worse. But if you go back and you study the recessions, which happen approximately every 10 years since World War II, they don't last very long. Like, they're scary as hell when you're in the midst of it. But the mathematical truth is they last about 11 months on average. The issue is nobody even knows when they start until you're looking back on it. So the truth of the matter is, I just don't think this thing is going to last very long from an economic standpoint. I think we're going to pull at it relatively quickly. I think the end is getting closer in regard to everybody sort of quarantining. I'm feeling very optimistic right now, and I'm trying to just lean on the data every way that I can. And the macro data of the economy is one piece, but I think the other piece of data that you can look at is what's happening to people that get COVID. And, you know, I think people don't want to be insensitive about it, because yes, people are certainly getting very sick and some people are losing their lives. But, you know, I'm a math guy, and you got to think about the numerator and the denominator. And the denominator is, you know, here in the States, a country of 340 million, around the planet, you know, it's over 7 billion. Really, most people who are fairly young and fairly healthy, and I know there's a lot of sports marketing and sports people on this at your event, like, those people are really escaping pretty easily. Like, more and more I'm hearing people like, I didn't want to say anything, but I got it and I was sick for a week, or I got it and I was sick for one bad night. And I have friends, there's a clear line. Like, if you know people who are not fit, who are not in shape, yeah, they're getting hurt a lot more. But in general, I think it's gonna come out that it's not as bad as it might seem. Like, it does. I don't want to sound hard-hearted, because people really are getting hurt. But I think the world is going to wake up and realize, hey, we got to get back to work. There's other repercussions. There is other health damages and dangers that happen when we don't get out there and interact with each other as human beings. It's emotionally damaging, it's physically damaging, it's economically damaging. So honestly, I really think we're on the precipice of turning this thing around. Now, you're seeing the data. It's not going to be a V-shaped turnaround. It's not going to be like, oh, it hit and now we're great. It's going to be, as they're calling it now, a little bit of a swoosh shape. It'll take time, but I think we're really on the precipice of things turning around within the next handful of weeks, and it'll be challenging. We'll dig, and frankly, there's a lot of upside to digging, man. Life isn't supposed to be easy all the time. Last year was ridiculously easy. The economy was on fire, and we all just got slowly more and more stupid because of that. Personally, I find life a little bit more fun sometimes when it's more challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And do you find that, I guess there's this shift in thought and shift in perspective, similar to what you were saying, that there are still those opportunities, and that we do need to start sort of coming out the other end from a business or a sales and marketing perspective? Do you find that, because obviously one of the things that we found, and Vicky and Charlotte and I discussed in some detail, was when COVID first hit, and businesses were still, they still had their sponsored sales posts going out on Facebook, and they were still sending out emails and trying to sell. And it just almost felt a little bit tacky to be trying to sell as, the whole world in most people's eyes was starting to fall apart. Are you finding that perspective, and I guess the receptiveness of a consumer is now probably a little bit more open to being sold to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summarized it perfectly. At first, it was a little tacky or a little tone deaf. Nobody knew what was going on. Everyone was worried about their aging parents, their friends who were sick. And then everyone started coming. I mean, how many ads? What are we hearing? Like, now more than ever, right? Now more than ever. Every gosh darn campaign, now more than ever. And it's like, that's becoming equally bad, because you're just feeling like you're just trying to milk this thing from a marketing perspective. And frankly, I think at this point, people do want to return to normalcy, and they just want some straightforward messaging. And I think from a marketing standpoint, you do want to think a little bit short term, because that aforementioned issue, we just don't really know when this thing is going to be over, when the economy is no longer going to be in a recession, when everything is going to be great. So I would counsel people to think a little bit more short term in nature. In marketing, we talk about the sales funnel, right? You got awareness, interest, conversion, and it's nice to have balance in all of them. And great brands are not built in the lower funnel. It's not built like, buy now, click here, 10% off. No, great brands are built sort of in the upper and the middle funnel, where you're telling these immersive stories and these emotionally engaging stories, and you tell people how much you care about the audience, and you're empathetic, and you're sympathetic, and you're inspirational, and you're aspirational, and you're educational, and all that stuff is great. The issue with that is it doesn't instantaneously make the cash register ring. So I think we can tip our focus a little bit more towards the lower funnel. Using a baseball analogy, we call it a fastball down the middle, which just means like, be straightforward, be a little matter of the fact about it. And if you're using a straightforward story, you're respecting people's time and attention, you're using appropriate data and marketing technologies to target people, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, here's a product that's going to help you right now. There's a lot of industries that are absolutely booming, and I think people really respect the ability to see brands appropriately advertised at the time. Like, and you're seeing it in weird places. Like, I got a dog, right? A lot of people here got dogs. Like, if you happen to be a dog breeder, you get on the phone with the dog breeders, like, dude, you got 30 seconds to buy this dog. You got to buy the dog right now, because there's 100 people calling. It was bananas, right? So we got a puppy. Everybody got puppies or chickens or something to make themselves feel better at this time. But you know what? I instantly, before the dog is ready, because when you get a dog, you get it, and then it takes a few weeks before you can go pick the dog up, and they don't want to send the dog over to the new family too young. I started getting all of these ads instantly, and they're using data and technology to, somewhere in there, they knew I got a dog. But next thing you know, I got dog food, kind of obvious, dog beds. I saw an ad from a company called Casper, pretty successful company in America. I don't know if you have it in Australia. They sort of own the sleep category. Their ad was so targeted that they apologized in the ad. They're like, verbatim or close to verbatim, they're like, hey, we're not listening to your conversations on your phone, but we know you got a dog and you should probably be interested in this dog bed. I loved it. I'm like, yeah, thank you. You're giving me value, right? companies that are like, here's home exercise equipment, here's the right book. There's all these things that we're interested in, we need in particular right now. And I think people want to see that marketing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then I guess, so from all of that, and for businesses, what do you sort of see as a current opportunity that the businesses can take to not so much capitalize on the COVID situation, but at least still have some sort of profit coming in for them?
Well, I think part of it is what I mentioned, which is just really being able to be wise with your dollars and not think too long term. In general, my whole strategy and in the film that you mentioned, the book that we wrote, all the work that we do with our clients is very long term focused, right? We always want to tell empowering, engaging stories, but you got to be a little bit more short term focused now. So make sure you survive this and get to the long term. The flip side of it is, I think one of the massive opportunities right now is just to take care of the stuff that you haven't been taking care of, some of the longer term strategic stuff. So that doesn't mean necessarily your marketing activation in telling the stories, but every brand heading into this was just way behind with a lot of stuff. The economy, the Dow grew like 32% last year. Like, there's giant waves that are coming in and everyone's like, dude, get your surfboard, let's surf these giant economic waves, right? But when those waves start coming in, you realize, hey, it's time to wax up your board, it's time to get in shape, it's time to get some new equipment. So what that means is it might be some real basic stuff like your brand guidelines and making sure your colors, your fonts, and everything is aligned. It could be your brand strategy, it could be your content strategy, it could be your website. Nobody's ever satisfied with your website because it's an organic creature. It always needs to be improved. It's a process, not an event. And these things start breaking down. So you've got the opportunity to say, okay, let's take some of our dollars, let's take some of our time and attention, and let's start building these things that may take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months to get in place. And we've ignored them because the cash register has been ringing off the hook. So when the cash register stops ringing for a little while, you can be a lot more long-term focused in nature. And I'm seeing that with my clients. Like, we're doing a lot more work in sort of longer term brand strategy. We're doing a lot more work in website design and development to fix all those things that just that take a longer time to do. So I think it's really exciting to see brands ultimately put themselves in position to dominate the competition when the economy opens up, because it is going to open up, right? History dictates, once again, that recessions last around 11 months. Everything is going to go bananas again. Like, the economy doubles every 10 years. It's the rule of 72. So you don't want to wake up and be like, oh, wow, it's over. Hey, time to get our act together. Like, no, dude, get your act together now, because it's going to open up so quickly. Like, everything seems really slow and really scary when you're in the middle of it. Remember 2008? Like, it was scary as hell. And then all of a sudden, everyone was getting rich again right after, right? So, you just don't want to wait. You got to jump on some of that stuff that takes long-term planning, and you got to jump on it now.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess looking post-COVID, when we eventually come out of it in some way, shape or form, and get back to whatever this new normal is. One of the things that I'm seeing through sport is that this time away from sport has started to engage a new market, and people are looking at new ways to get fit and healthy and active. So for an organization, what are some potential opportunities that you see for them in terms of marketing and advertising to, one, I guess, tap into this new market or these potential new consumers, but also their existing client base as well?
Yeah, so I come from the new school of advertising, born and raised in this digital world, started our agency specifically because we knew an advertising revolution was about to take place. And the revolution isn't necessarily about the new tools, the new data, the new technology that's out there. That's the facilitator of it. But ultimately, what the new advertising world is a shift in power. And the powers come from corporations who used to act poorly and be able to cover it up with a clever message. And now it's shifting over to consumers who are completely in control. And the summary of it all is like, brands are transparent, right? So if you're a great company, people know it. If it's a great product, people know it. If it's a bad product, people know it. They might not know it instantaneously, but they absolutely will figure it out eventually. So really what that means for marketing and advertising is our job is to simply put a transparent lens on how you're behaving. So if you're doing something great, let's create some content and stories that show that. But the truth of the matter is it's not about marketing and advertising. It's the totality of your business. You're transparent. So to answer your question, I think the number one opportunity coming out of COVID is build the best team you've ever built, because that's what's going to dictate the quality of your products, the quality of your marketing, the quality of your advertising, the quality of your customer service, the quality of your reputation. It's all about how strong is your team. When the economy is growing like it was literally, just a handful of months ago, it's hard to build the greatest team ever. Obviously, it's your goal every day, but it's hard because a lot of those people aren't available, or the price on their salaries is getting driven up so high. Now people have the opportunity to say, wait, go back to what I was talking about before. Let's look about some of these fundamental issues. Let's look at our brand. Let's look at our strategy. Let's make some longer term investments. But then on top of it, let's build the best damn team that you can, because there's some world-class talent out there that very sadly, very, very sadly, have found themselves available right now, and it's not their fault. They just happen to work in an industry that got impacted, right? Some industries did not, but I know some amazing, amazing people in every way. They lost their job because they work in travel. It's not their fault. Just people aren't going on cruise ships. People aren't going to theme parks and hotels. Well, find those people, be very methodical in it, and build the best team you've ever built, because that's going to be much more powerful than anything I do. Marketing and advertising, if you don't have a world-class team, there's nothing I can do to build a world-class brand. But if you can build a world-class team, you're set, done, end of story.
Yeah, it's some really, really good advice. And then I guess on a personal level, what have you created for yourself? Have you found some new passions? Have you created some new opportunities while you've been in lockdown?
It's funny because I feel like I'm kind of consistent with your previous interviewee. I haven't taken as much advantage of it as I should. I got off to a pretty good start. I'm like, look, I'm going to spend 90 minutes every morning taking care of myself. And what I meant was 45 minutes of playing guitar and 45 minutes of exercise every day, right? And then an hour with my family. And then all of a sudden, what is that? You got a few hours right there, and then jump into your workday. It's been so bananas, right? And it's bananas for everyone. And let's be honest, right? Either you're bananas because you lost your job, you're in one of those tough industries, that's bananas. Now you're figuring out, what am I doing in life? Or you're lucky enough to still have your job, but now you're doing triple work, because some data's negative, some data's positive. Everyone's working their butt off. And I would say the answer to the whole thing is just try to own your morning if you can. If you can find some time to yourself. We're all traveling much less than we ever have. Obviously, I travel for a living. I'm on an airplane easily 3 days a week. And you step back, like, dude, how inefficient is that time? I would often, 2-3 days a week, travel 14 hours in a day for a 1-hour meeting. Get up in the morning, fly from one side of America to the other coast, have a 1-hour meeting and fly back. God, is that stupid? Now we realize, I've never been to Australia. I've always been wanting to go to Australia. Hey, this isn't the way I pictured it. But the point is, we can connect through these new technologies. There's so many more hours in our day. And I think we all just have to be cognizant, work is always going to be there, and find some time to take care of yourself. If you're not exercising on a regular basis, that's just foolish, because that's one of the great lessons of COVID, which is if you're pretty fit, you eat well, you take your vitamins, you exercise, you'll shake this thing off much, much more easily than somebody that's unfit. But find one other passion point. I've got no design skills. I'm not an artist. If I was, I'd get up and paint. I'm a wannabe musician, so I'm trying to learn how to play that damn guitar.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Jeff, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us today in the Think Tank. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you and getting some insights from you. Good luck with picking up the guitar. Mine's still sitting in the corner over here, and I never get around to do it. Maybe I should. Go get it, man. There's a lot of lessons on YouTube. Start your day that way. Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.